Okay, this is JDS Sport Talks video. Only one I'm going to do for ages. Haven't done one in a while. I'm just doing this especially because it's getting close to the end of the AFL season. Something I wanted to talk about. So obviously my team, Eagles, are out. They lost last week to Collingwood. It wasn't a nice loss by any means. It was painful to lose by a point. Very painful, especially when we very much overly rushed it on the last attack we had with 40 seconds to go, playing like there's 10 seconds to go. We Gaff handled to I don't remember who for no good reason really, and that really closed up the game. But what killed us was our kicking. Really, we weren't as accurate as the opposition, and to be fair, Collingwood were very accurate, but they've just been slaughtered last night by Geelong. If they had lost Geelong, if they had lost, would have been Gary Ablett Jr. his last game ever. Because I'm almost certain he's going to retire. The fact that his kid got sick and he couldn't be there for his kid, he had to leave the hub to go home to see his kid whilst he was sick. I believe that would have been the final straw for him, and that will be the end of his career. As I assume, I think I've told you before, in my opinion, he is the GOAT. I believe that because everything else really is sort of on par, in my opinion, with like Lee Matthews and all that. I don't have a problem if anyone says that he's better, because it's really that opinion. You couldn't convince me of it, but I understand why you would think players like him are better. But for me, what puts Gary Ablett Jr. above people like him is that one season where he dislocated his shoulder. I've talked about before, where he got how many votes he got in that first half of the season. He injured himself, I believe, exactly halfway through the season, and he still almost won the Brownlow. That season is what puts me ahead of the rest, in my opinion. Puts him ahead of the rest, in my opinion. But last night, it was just complete domination. Collingwood weren't anywhere. Like, often teams, when they verse Eagles, they don't do well the next year when they verse the Eagles. So, if you look at in history, it's so common that a team that will verse the Eagles, especially if they verse Eagles at home, they so often lose the week after. Don't ask me why, but it's just the thing. Except Fremantle, they often seem to win the week after they have a derby against us. Don't know why either. I don't really know what I'm talking about here. I was just sort of going to waffle on about AFL, but that's all I got to talk about. So I might talk about tennis because some young woman has just won the Women's French Open. It is obviously a bit, half the good players aren't there, more than half probably because of coronavirus. But she won it fair and square. She didn't lose a set, I don't believe, in the entire tournament. And if she did, it was in the final. I didn't look at the score. I can look it up for you if you want. Actually, something I want to talk about before I move on to that. With the with the grand final, who I would like to be in it, personally. Although I like Daniel Rich, which is he actually played for my junior club. I think he's the most underrated player in the AFL. That will actually be the title of this, I reckon. Daniel Rich is the most underrated player in the AFL, in my opinion, and has been for a long time. He's a very good player who gets overlooked so much. Maybe not by the people inside the AFL, but as media view and the general public's knowledge of him and what they think of him, he is very, very overlooked, in my opinion. He's much higher level than people give him credit for. But the teams that are left are Port Adelaide, Richmond, and Brisbane Geelong. They're the two preliminary finals, and whoever wins them obviously goes into the grand final. And luckily, the two teams I want to be in there, Port Adelaide and Geelong, if they beat the opposition, they're in opposite games, so they can actually be in the grand final. The reason I want Port Geelong is I would want Brisbane, but if they won, then it'd be forever all that you played the whole season at home. It would never be a respected premiership, because they played most of the season at their home ground. I know that's what Melbourne teams do every year, but that's because it's still the VFL. It's not the AFL. They just call it the AFL. It's still very weighted towards the Victorian teams because they play God knows how many games at home, and they can say they don't have full home game. That's what Eddie Maguire said about Eagles back before, between the break between the first game of the season and the second game. He was saying, "Oh, but we get absolute home games because most times we play at home, apart from against Fremantle, we're playing against teams who only play there against us. It's not their home ground. But when Melbourne teams play against, say Richmond play against Geelong, or St Kilda, they both have a home ground at MCG, but you still have home games every week basically. We have to travel every week, and we travel a long way each week, and so it's just, and that, so it is technically really always weighted towards Victorian teams, and always will be, because it's 150 years more something stupid of playing MCG, which I don't have a problem with, by the way, just make that clear. Don't have a problem with going home being played at MCG. But I just think if Brisbane won, it would just win next year. I'd love to win as a team, but it would never be respected. It would always be looked at as, oh, but you played at home, it's not fair. The whole season was at your home ground. So that's why I'm looking at Port Adelaide and Geelong, because Richmond's they've won quite a few lately, and they are a Melbourne team. Being West Australian, we don't like Victorians, stuff them. Port Adelaide v Geelong. Geelong's got Ablett. It's probably his last season. I'd like to see Ablett get. They're the team I want to win because of Ablett. I want to see him get another premiership last year of his career. So Port Adelaide, Geelong. I think Geelong would not run around, but they would outplay Port Adelaide in the midfield. I think if they got to the grand final, those two teams, and as long as they can nullify Dixon like they did basically completely in the qualifiers, even though they lost in the end, they basically nullified Dixon. If they can do that, I think they will probably get over them in the grand final. And they got very good, considering it's a night grand final, and it's in Melbourne, and it's in Brisbane. It will be Dewey, so it will be a wet ball. And Geelong have very good wet ball players like Ablett Jr., like Dangerfield, like Selwood, who are very good at handling a wet ball. I don't know about Port Adelaide, don't know how they play with wet ball, but Geelong are very good with a wet ball. That's enough of that. Let's go back to the tennis. So that, I've forgotten her name, but she won. I'll search it up now. She won the French Open for the women's, but I wrote French, not French. And so did Dylan Alcott. Actually, Dylan Alcott also won in the wheelchair. He's an Aussie guy. He wins a lot of different tennis. I think he wins other sports as well. He's very good disabled sportsman. Her name is Iga Swiatek. Never heard of her. She's the youngest woman to ever win, I believe. So yeah, and I'm assuming, yes, it was 6-4, 6-1. So it was an absolute whipping of four. No, sorry, not the youngest. She is the lowest seed player to ever win the French Open, beating 4th seed Sophia Kenin, American. The woman who won is Polish. Now let's go to the men's singles, and the final is, as always, Rafa Nadal's there. It's French Open. He's gonna win against Djokovic, in my opinion. It's not gonna be close, even though Djokovic is number one in the world at the moment. But I think Nadal will come over him. It's on clay. Nadal's gonna win that. So basically, that's it. I've actually kind of missed this now that I'm doing it. I may try to keep doing it, but I'm not sure if you guys know. I don't think I've told you yet. But my house is getting a renovation, so there's a lot of banging all the time. It's a Sunday, so there's no one here, and my parents and everything's out, but there is a lot of banging. Like, I've been working, they would get here at like 7 something, and they were cutting off a part of the roof outside my window a few days ago, and fuck, that was loud. Yeah, so my house is going to completely change, so that's why I've not been doing much talking videos, and that mixed with prior to the renovation, just pure laziness. Sorry if my voice has been a bit dodgy. I'm a bit sick. I don't know why, but I am. That's it really. Been JDS. Thanks. Bye. See you next time. See ya. I may keep doing this. I don't think I will, but I might. See ya.